Before any stone was catalogued or any shard was lifted from the tidal mud, Rungholt already existed as a warning, whispered by the sea itself. In the archaeological imagination of Northern Europe, few names carry the same mixture of dread, skepticism, and stubborn persistence as Rungholt, the medieval port city said to have been swallowed whole by the waters of the Wadden Sea during the catastrophic storm surge of January 1362. Known historically as the Grote Mandrenke, the Great Drowning of Men, this event reshaped coastlines, erased settlements, and embedded itself into folklore so deeply that for centuries, scholars dismissed Rungholt as a moral fable rather than a place. Yet archaeology, with its patient attention to sediment, timber, and tide, has slowly peeled back legend to reveal a city that once stood, traded, governed, and preyed on land now claimed by the North Sea. What if the boundary between myth and map was never as firm as historians once believed? Rungholt lay on the island of Strand, in what is now the German state of Schleswig-Holstein, a low-lying marshland engineered by medieval inhabitants through dikes, drainage canals, and reclaimed polders. Archaeological evidence suggests a prosperous community, sustained by salt production, cattle grazing, and maritime trade across the North Sea and Baltic networks. Far from being a marginal settlement, Rungholt appears to have been a regional hub, complete with parish churches, harbors, legal structures, and a population that understood the sea not as an enemy, but as a resource to be managed through collective labor and technical skill. Long before the storm arrived, the landscape itself was already keeping a quiet record of human ambition. Excavations and geophysical surveys conducted in the Wadden Sea reveal a dense pattern of drainage ditches, terp-like dwelling mounds, and causeways preserved beneath layers of marine sediment. These features demonstrate an advanced medieval coastal engineering system, one that required constant maintenance and communal coordination. Archaeologically, Rungholt belongs to a broader tradition of North Sea marsh cultures, where survival depended on reading tides, reinforcing embankments, and accepting that land was never permanently won from the sea. The night of January 16, 1362, did not simply destroy buildings. It dismantled an entire cultural system in a matter of hours. Contemporary chronicles describe hurricane-force winds coinciding with an exceptional high tide, breaching dikes and sending walls of water across the island of Strand. Archaeological strata corresponding to this event show abrupt transitions, fertile soils capped by marine sands, domestic layers sealed beneath storm deposits, and structural timbers snapped or displaced. Unlike gradual coastal erosion, the Rungholt catastrophe bears the unmistakable signature of a sudden, high-energy marine incursion. For centuries afterward, the sea refused to give back what it had taken. Tidal dynamics in the Wadden Sea continually reworked the submerged remains, dispersing artifacts and obscuring structural outlines. This process frustrated early attempts to locate Rungholt and fueled skepticism about its very existence. Yet archaeology thrives precisely where certainty erodes. From the 20th century onward, systematic surveys, aerial photography during extreme low tides, and sonar mapping began to reveal anomalies, linear features and rectilinear patterns inconsistent with natural sedimentation. When wooden wells emerged from the mud, history could no longer look away. Dendrochronologically dated timbers recovered from the seabed correspond to the 13th and 14th centuries, aligning with documentary references to Rungholt's final decades. Wells, dike remnants, and road alignments suggest an organized urban layout rather than a scattered rural settlement. These finds transformed Rungholt from a moral legend into an archaeological site, demanding serious scholarly engagement rather than folkloric dismissal. Rungholt's economy, reconstructed fragment by fragment, reveals a city deeply embedded in medieval trade networks. Ceramic imports from the Rhineland, metal objects consistent with regional markets, and evidence of large-scale salt extraction indicate a community that generated surplus and participated in long-distance exchange. Salt, often called white gold in the Middle Ages, was essential for food preservation and trade, and Rungholt's access to saline marshes likely underpinned its prosperity. Archaeology thus reframes the city not as an isolated curiosity, but as a functioning node in a wider economic system. Yet, prosperity carried its own risks, etched subtly into the archaeological record. Some scholars argue that intensified land reclamation and dike construction may have reduced the landscape's resilience, narrowing tidal channels and increasing vulnerability to storm surges. While archaeology cannot assign moral blame, it can document patterns of environmental modification that preceded disaster. In this sense, Rungholt becomes a case study in the long history of human-environment interaction, where technical success can mask accumulating fragility. The absence of bodies is itself an archaeological clue, heavy with implication. Despite the scale of the disaster described in historical sources, human remains are scarce. This absence may reflect the energy of the storm, which could have carried victims far from the site, or later reworking of sediments. It also underscores the limits of archaeology in capturing human suffering, reminding us that material traces often survive where lives do not. Rungholt's afterlife may be as influential as its years of habitation. In post-medieval folklore, the city became a symbol of divine punishment, said to have been destroyed for arrogance and moral decay. Church bells were rumored to ring beneath the waves, audible on calm nights. Archaeology neither confirms nor denies such stories, but it explains their persistence. When landscapes erase settlements without visible ruins, imagination fills the void. The material invisibility of Rungholt allowed myth to flourish where stone cities would have anchored memory. Modern archaeology has returned Rungholt to history without stripping it of its power. Using sediment cores, paleo-environmental analysis, and high-resolution geophysics, researchers continue to refine the city's location and extent. Each discovery narrows the gap between legend and landscape, showing how catastrophe, memory, and material evidence intertwine. Rungholt now stands as one of Europe's most compelling drowned cities, not because it was unique, but because it was typical, one of many communities balancing precariously between land and sea. In the end, Rungholt is not merely a city that vanished. It is a question that refuses to stay buried. Its remains challenge archaeology to work at the margins of visibility, in environments where tides erase as much as they reveal. More broadly, Rungholt speaks to the present, as modern coastal societies confront rising seas and intensifying storms. Beneath the shifting sands of the Wadden Sea, the city continues to testify, not with bells or curses, but with ditches, timbers, and layers of sand, to the enduring dialogue between human ambition and the restless ocean.